Today on Focal Point, we are going to discuss domestic violence with Renee Norris-Jones, changes in our climate, and explore healthcare technology. Stay with us. Hi, welcome to Focal Point on CCP TV, the educational channel of Community College of Philadelphia. I'm Darlene Muntz, a student in the theater arts curriculum here at CCP. We have an exciting show for you today. I am here with Renee Norris-Jones, a domestic violence advocate, community educator, spokesperson, and board member at Women Against Abuse. Welcome, Renee.
Thank you so much, Darlene.
Have you or has anyone you've known ever been in a domestic violence relationship?
Yes, I would say me. And then behind that long title is I'm a survivor. So I have come from survivor to board member. Okay. So, and because of my being a survivor of domestic violence and an advocate, I do a lot of volunteer work with Women Against Abuse, and because of that, I know lots of survivors. I meet survivors, and when I'm speaking, a lot of women come up and self-disclose to me that they're survivors, so I am the survivor in my world. So it's been a journey, so I'm happy to be a survivor.
As a survivor, what kind of resources did you need in order to leave the domestic violence relationship?
There's no one size fits all, because as we know, as individuals, we're complicated. Relationships, whether they're healthy or not, are complicated. So the resources vary. Okay. My needs over the course of 7 years changed from shelter to eventually Women Against Abuse got me 1,600 miles away to Texas. And this was in the 70s when they were just a baby.org. So the power of women working together, getting me to safety, and maybe someone doesn't need that much assistance getting them out of state. But we have shelters, we have legal services, we offer safety planning. So we pretty much meet victims, and I'm not just going to say women because we all know that victims of domestic violence, male, female. Yes. It crosses every social economic platform, so it's not just limited to one. So with that in mind, Women Against Abuse and domestic violence agencies globally meet the victim where they are.
Renee, where is the closest domestic violence shelter located?
Domestic violence shelters, no matter what city they're in, they're always in confidential locations. So in Philadelphia, we have 2. We just got 2. Up until 2 years ago, we had 1. It had 100 beds. And when people hear that, they go, okay. But when you think that in Philadelphia, there's 1.5 million people, one 100-bed shelter, even the new one, now we have 200 beds, but we turn away over 15,000 women for assistance to get into the safe shelter. So to go back to your question, we have 2. They're in confidential locations. Women who go in to the shelters have to sign a waiver to say that they can never tell. I've stayed in shelters, it's been almost 35 years ago. And even my daughter said when she was growing up, "You won't tell me, Mommy?" And I said, "No, I can't." You know, I took that oath when I went in, and I know that it's life-saving. Oftentimes when a victim is fleeing a domestic violence relationship, is the most dangerous time for them. So the shelters are always, whether it's in Philadelphia, New York, or California, the shelter are always in confidential location for the safety of the residents.
I want to ask you, when you say turn them away, where do they go?
Often they go back to where they came from, back home. The number one question that I get almost 35 years later is, why did you stay? And when you look at a situation, it takes opportunity and courage to leave. And if you call, and I've left my house, middle of the night, clothes on my back, sometimes a nightgown on, to go back then to a payphone to make that phone call. And even though there's no space, sometimes they might say, I can put you up at a Salvation Army, or I can put you up at one night. You're making that decision, but where am I going to go the next night? And if there's no space, they will safety plan with you on the telephone, but you have to go back. And if the abuser knows that you left, there's going to be trouble when you get back in there.
What can a victim entering a domestic violence shelter expect?
You want to try that again?
Yes. What can a victim entering a domestic violence shelter expect?
So it felt like to me, this army of women came in. What do you need? Do you have kids? Do you need childcare? Do you need housing? Do you need legal support? And whatever you say you needed, there was someone there to help me with my resume. When I went to Texas, I didn't know anyone. They got me to a shelter 1,600 miles away. So they were like, what do you need? I said, I need a resume and I need this. So someone came through. Someone will be here at 3 o'clock to help you with your resume. I need to find my way around the city. 2 women showed up a couple hours later to give me a tour. But whatever that person needs, it's about helping them get there and supporting them.
How can you help a person in a domestic violence situation?
The best thing that you can do, I always tell people to call a domestic violence hotline. I actually brought a card with me today with the number. It's 866-723-3014. And I tell people that the hotline number is not just for victims. Because oftentimes I get people that say, what do I say? A coworker, a classmate, someone I work with, someone I commute with. I think something's going on. I'm not sure what to say, or I said something to them and now they're not talking to me anymore. I always say call that hotline. It's not just for victims, it's for everybody to say, my neighbor, whoever it is, I said something, I didn't say something, what can I say? What's going to be the most helpful?
We look forward to having you on the show again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now let's hear what CCP students think about climate change.
I do believe in climate change. I used to not believe in climate change. I used to think it was a conspiracy.
I'm considering the unseasonably warm weather that we've been having recently in the Philadelphia area. It was 70 degrees on Christmas Eve.
The winter has been like odd. It's been cold some days, but then it's been like abnormally warm some other days.
I do remember when the weather, to me, it wasn't as extreme as far as the heat is concerned.
A lot of things are changing. It's starting to become warmer as the winter progresses and aggressively hotter during the summer.
There's more severe storms, blizzards, and hurricanes than there have been in the past, or they're happening more frequently than they used to.
At one time there was caps filled with snow and ice, or now it's just like a semblance, just a minuscule piece of ice in certain areas.
One of the things it's doing is it's slowly destroying the environment that we inhabit.
The temperatures will rise and make it unsustainable for most people to live.
The Earth's eventually going to overheat, and I think it's just going to get too hot for humans to exist at all.
The potential flooding that could happen.
Too much water is a problem. When they're melting, everything gets displaced.
We are dealing with days where it's extremely hot, but I believe 20 years from now, 30 years from now, they're going to have it bad.
Seals are migrating, sharks are migrating, there's more shark attacks. All this is due to global warming, and eventually it affects us.
I think there might be a way to slow it, and that might be to try to get a better handle on pollution.
Trying to lower the emission of greenhouse gases.
Trying to walk or ride a bike instead of driving your car around, or
Supporting governmental policies that actually tax or put penalties on the largest polluters.
reducing our own carbon footprint and doing simple things like recycling.
We could take steps by cutting out like a lot of gas-powered cars, diesel cars.
Getting an energy efficient car that doesn't use a fossil fuel.
Try and encourage more ecologically friendly manufacturing and production.
I believe that it is too late to prevent climate change.
We've done a lot of damage already.
It's too late.
I think we've done so much damage to the Earth that there's nothing we can do. It's irreparable.
I believe it could be fixed over time, but it has to start now.
Wow, wasn't that interesting? For our final segment, we are going to hear CCP students talk about the Biomedical Technology program here at CCP.
I'm an adjunct instructor here at Community College Philadelphia for the Biomedical Equipment Technology program. I currently am the Senior Director for Biomedical Engineering at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where I've been for approximately 25 years. I came into this field as a biomedical equipment technologist, worked many years for both third-party organizations as well as hospitals before I moved up into the organization and became a director. Students are actually working with test equipment that they need to first learn how to evaluate medical devices operationally, as well as test their calibration. They then get exposed to pump devices that deliver medication, such as infusion pumps, cardiac-related equipment, pacemakers, defibrillators, physiological monitoring equipment. So devices that they're going to encounter most likely the first year they get out of the program.
In this class, I'm learning to service biomedical equipment that is used in hospital, physiological monitors, infusion pumps, patient warmers.
We're learning in this class to look at medical equipment that has a problem, and we're going to be able to solve that problem. And we may be able to teach a nurse who's working with that equipment how to use it properly based on what we've learned here.
So students have many challenges that they need to deal with if they become a biomedical equipment technologist. They need to understand and learn how to work in a healthcare operation, a healthcare organization which has its own challenges. How do you behave in the organization? How do you interact with clinicians and caregivers? Your role is and how you support the care of a patient. Those are pretty important issues that they have to tackle before they even know how to work with a medical device. They'll be working in an exciting but a high-stress environment, but it's also a very rewarding environment. They get to see the results of their work and who and how it impacts, and specifically our customers, which are our patients. The students get to work in a team environment here. When they get out into the field and work, they're not necessarily working by themselves. They have individuals that they need to work with, other technicians, clinicians, so we get them to learn how to work together cooperatively to solve issues and problems. They get to work hands-on with medical equipment that they're going to encounter day to day. They learn to understand what aspects of safety, what happens if a patient has a transmission-based issue or problem, how do you protect yourself and how do you protect the patient. So the goal really of this class and this program is to get them to prepare equipment, to do preventive maintenance on medical equipment, but to understand how it operates, where it's used, and then how do they work in that environment in a safe manner to be able to resolve issues and problems.
My biggest challenge that I face when working with medical equipment would be probably the terminology. There's a lot of terminology that you have to pick up on very quickly, and that could really be a big problem if you don't.
The employment opportunity for new biomedical equipment technologists coming out of the CCP is vast. There are a lot of jobs that are available out there now today. People are hiring, both hospitals, third-party organizations, and manufacturers. One of the advantages of this program is there's not been a lot of educational opportunities for biomedical equipment technologists, especially in this Philadelphia area, for many, many years. So we're looking now to hire people, and there's just not enough of them out there. If I was hiring today for a new biomedical technologist, you'd start in the mid-40s, about $45,000 to $46,000 per year. And if you work for a third party, it would be about the same. Manufacturers tend to be a little bit higher. If I look at job postings, I see many entry-level positions that are out there that, quite frankly, people are struggling to fill. It's a profession that is growing. There's always going to be a need for technologists. Medical equipment is being developed, and there are people who need to be out there trained to support that equipment.
Wow, the biotech students have their hands full. Well, that's it for today. I want to thank my guest, Renee Norris-Jones, and the viewers for tuning in. You have been watching Focal Point, the Community College of Philadelphia magazine show on CCP TV, the educational channel of Community College of Philadelphia. All the segments for Focal Point are produced by the students in the digital video production curriculum. I'm Darlene Muntz, a student in the theater arts curriculum here at CCP. See you next time. That was funny. That was funny to me. That was funny to me. I never did that. Oh my God.